Hi everyone, I'm here with a story, true story out of our book, Jesus Talked to Me Today. True stories of childhood encounters with angels, miracles, and God. I've been wanting to read this book so bad, and my friend just happened to give me this one to read this time, and she didn't know it, that I was going to buy this one. Now I don't have to, so I can read it to you guys and read it with you guys and give it back to her. And I've really enjoyed this so far. What about you guys? Have you been following along? Have you enjoyed these stories? I like the ones about little kids because, you know, I like hearing stories of things little kids see because I believe them. Little kids they go into detail and stuff like that. They have no reason to lie, and when they say certain things that they don't even know about, they can't just magically know names like that or know about things that they've never heard or seen before. You would know if it was your child, you know, if it was normal or not for that child. Just like my niece, when she was little, she's seen a little angel girl. She'd appear to her time every now and then. And she said her name. And she had never heard that name in her life. Nobody in our family has named that or anything. And she was young. She never heard that name nowhere. She explained what she looked like, everything. And she's seen her for years. Years. It might be her guardian angel. I believe it. I believe that stuff. That's me, though. Okay, but this one is by Laura L. Bradford, and it is called A Welcome Friend. "Grandma," I shouted, slamming the kitchen door behind me. "A friend came to play with me." Turning away from her pile of laundry, my grandmother gave me a questioning look. She realized that the only possible playmate living near our isolated property was a girl in her late teens. But Judy had never shown an interest in playing with 4-year-old kids like me. "Who would have come all the way out here to play with you?" she asked. "I don't know his name," I answered, "but he was really fun, like Daddy used to be." "Your friend is a guy?" Grandma asked, looking pale. "Was he a grown-up?" "Yep." "And he came just to see me," I bragged. "He stepped out from behind the clothesline pole. Then he told me all about Daddy while we played hide-and-seek in the sheets on the clotheslines." "No!" Grandma cried. "I'm not going to let anyone hurt my baby." Grabbing her butcher knife, my arthritic grandmother hobbled toward the door. Probably thought it was a predator, you know. "But Grandma," I begged, tugging on her arm, "you don't have to go out there, 'cause he's gone now. He stepped back behind the clothesline pole and disappeared." "No, he didn't," she growled, charging through the doorway. "It's not possible for anyone to do that. He's probably still lurking out there somewhere. So I'm going to find the beast and cut him to bits." "No, Grandma, stop," I said. "He was really nice." But Grandma kept hobbling toward the clotheslines, going faster than I'd ever seen her move. Holding the butcher knife high in the air, she gasped for breath with every step. A couple of times she almost fell when she tripped on sticks, rocks, or lumps in the grass. I begged Grandma to stop, but she kept going. Why wouldn't she believe that my friend was a nice guy and that he'd already gone away? I found it frustrating to make grown-ups understand me. But then I had trouble understanding grown-ups too. I didn't know why my father had quit coming home. He must have died. I didn't tell him. I missed him so much that I'd sit by the kitchen window during supper time, watching for his car to come up the driveway. My mother and grandmother would try to pull me away from the window, saying, "You've got to stop starving yourself, Laura. Your daddy is dead. He's not coming home. Not ever again." My older sister would say the same words, but I didn't know what they meant. Over and over I tried to explain, "Daddy always comes home to me, always. So I'm staying by the window. When he gets home, I'll eat." After my knife-wielding grandmother had searched all around our clotheslines. I followed her all over the yard while she looked everywhere for my friend. When she found nothing, she grabbed my hand and dragged me toward the house. "You're not playing outside for the rest of the day," she announced. "Maybe not for the rest of the week. I won't allow some dirty old man to hurt my baby." "But Grandma," I explained, "he wasn't dirty at all. His clothes were really white, whiter than your sheets. And he wasn't very old either. He was young and skinny like Uncle Bud. And his face was really nice. It was brighter than his clothes." Grandma stopped in her tracks. Turning to look me in the eye, she asked, "You say his clothes were white? They were totally white?" "Yep," I answered, nodding, "and his hair too." I was afraid to say any more since Grandma had such a worried look on her face. After that, my friend returned a few more times. He came one night when I was longing to have my dad lift me up so I could see my mother's china pieces on the fireplace mantel. While I stood on the living room next to my father's huge recliner, the friend came and did exactly what my father would have done. He picked me up and carried me to the mantel. As I dangled high in the air, I remember being aware that I had to mind my manners, as Daddy always said. I wasn't supposed to touch any of the china pieces. My friend carried me from one side of the mantel to the other until I was satisfied that I'd seen everything. Then he'd place me back on the floor. Excited to tell everyone about my adventure, I dashed into the kitchen and said, "My friend came to lift me up just like Daddy used to do." Sis glared at me and growled, "You're crazy." Yeah, that's what people would think, exactly. And if they took her to the doctor, they'd want to medicate her. Mom ran out of the kitchen crying, but my grandmother seemed to understand. She just grinned. Then she gave me a wink. Years later, my visiting friend did what my father never could have done. While I played alone outside, longing for my father, a friend lifted me up again. That time I was high enough to look down on our house. I remember studying the artistic layout of the shingles and seeing leaves and twigs caught in the crevices near the dormers. Once he'd placed me back on the ground, I was overjoyed to know that I wasn't alone. Even though my father hadn't come home, someone still cared about me. I wouldn't remember any of my encounters with the friendly visitor if it weren't for my grandmother. A woman of faith with a gift of discernment, she eventually realized that my friend was no mortal man. She also reminded me of his visits repeatedly. She told me of the miraculous transformation that took place shortly after my first encounter with my visitor at the clothesline. Evidently, something that he communicated to me made me quit waiting by the window for my father, who had perished in a car accident. Instead, I started joining the family for meals once again. Over time, I came to understand that my visitor is the best friend anyone could have, and that his heart's desire is to give everyone access to his Father, a Father who will never die. My friend's name is Jesus.